Welcome back to the library, dear wanderer. Today, we're heading back to the hidden nest, back to King Shash's shelf, which we're getting close to finishing. We'll read the first book we pick up. It appears to be brought to the library by someone named Silberis. I'm probably getting that wrong, though. I've never been great with names. And it appears to be a story about flesh? Abundance.
Out past the woods in the heath, Abundance had a secret place. He went there before he grew supper, and we could never follow him. When he got back, he would be all bloody from the blighters. Mother would thank him while they pulled away the young ones what wanted to lick the wounds. My father says it wasn't always like this. He told me the land used to give up its body for us to eat, up until it was blasted to hell when the sky tore up and the old men, what were like abundance, came down. He says that it changed everything, but he keeps remembering less of it. I remember less of it too. My father says that the land became greedy or tainted one. Animals wouldn't live here, but sometimes blighters would get in. Blighters looked like birds and dogs and such, but father said they got into some bad food and it made them real sick and swollen and hungry. We couldn't eat them because their meat was bad too. So we built up walls, kept them from coming in and running their tongues like they do. Sometimes they ate us up. Sometimes they just watched us while we were asleep in bed. Sometimes they riled up on each other until one was ate up. Someone called for the dead to give up their flesh, the way the land used to. Back then, the village gave up their bodies to the land in a trade-like. The man said that since the land doesn't give back, we should keep the bodies for ourselves. And this opened our eyes. We knew it was natural to have sleeping at night, and we ate. But the better we ate, the fewer men died. And the fewer men died, the worse we ate. Kept us in a bind, as we waited over the sickbeds, not saying a word. Some men didn't eat. They were sore afraid, too. They starved and asked to leave, but we didn't let them, because we needed the bodies. Some men didn't eat out of kindness. They fed their kids instead. And then, well, they did the same thing again. One day, a boy named Matthew ran out, said he was hungry. Came back all cut up, but with a awful big message. Said he had become like the old men we used to know, the big ones. Said he could keep us fed like the land used to. The next time a man passed by, my father says, Mayhew pressed his hands down on the body's chest and bent down to give it a kiss like. The body bloomed up with meat. Tastier than it ever was before, too. My father says it was like a pumpkin, but one that you could eat entire. The village was fuller than it ever was. Mayhew was called Abundance after that, and he started getting in the role of the old man real well. He said that giving him love would make the food grow stronger, and everyone loved on him. He said that praise would keep the food tasting sweet, and everyone praised on him. Said he wanted the best house anyone had seen, and everyone worked together to put it up. We were so happy to have a lord again, and Abundance wasn't kidding. As he dwelled there in the heat of his temple, we dwelled in increase. And every so often, he would go out to be alone in his power. Some time after, our Lord called everyone down to dinner and said, since people were keeping their flesh longer, he had a new plan. Asked for a faithful, healthy man to step up. Many did. Took one, laid down his hands, and surely they began to bloom. The congregated men were amazed as abundance took the blooms away, and the chosen one said it was as painless as cutting hair. These live fruits were bony. A few looked like almonds, but the warm blood made them the sweetest fruit of all. Time came, and this I can't remember, that everyone could take their part. Men built our village bigger. Travelers would see it and come by to sleep safely. Some stayed drawn in by the abundant food. Most left before they had a chance to eat. Other men here grew strong and made it their task to stave off the blighters who were now baying at the walls of nights. Our Lord said the critters were drawn to his power. Men who couldn't work on other jobs became fields for our Lord's crops to take to. They grew awful fat and healthy, which was a blessing, for they grew to reflect our Lord. He became fulsome with flesh himself, but they could never partake of our Lord's body, for the blasphemy of it would sicken them so awful that none could eat of the eater's flesh, and our flesh was savory. We ate to surfeit, and my father said that we thought of food yet more than we did while hungry. But then, in a few years' time, I acted awful wrong. Saw our Lord go out into the heath and the night, and I followed. Went unnoticed by the trees. Blighters were too keen on abundance to notice me, and I saw new critters out in the heath. Well, couldn't be called blighters because they wouldn't be called animals. Walking, drooling mouths with claws, stomachs what inches long like slugs, and they were gathered around. It was a huge mound of flesh, long as day and half as tall, gave off steam and blood like I'd never seen. I knew it was flesh because the blighters were gorging on it, and because of the smell, what made the air oily. When abundance came before it, he hankered down and threw off his coat. I could see him then, as he joined the blighters. Realized the Lord was one of them, but man-shaped. I didn't make a sound the whole time he stayed there, watching, from the woods. Or maybe I did, and he didn't hear. Then he took himself up and clothed and walked away. When he was gone, I started to feel an awful yen in my belly, and it was meat in front of me. I approached, drunk off the scent drifting off it, saw its freshness, tore a red handful away, partook. The moment is a smudge drawn across my memory. I can't put the things my body did to words, but after, I knew everything abundance must have known. This mound was the body of a god. A generation ago, he fell dead to the earth, though the cause was unclear to me. His name was lost, but he was a god of herders and butchers, and the saver of the meat, and had power over these things. In death, all that strength turned sour and oozed out from his body into the world. Our Lord felt it there. He saw the blighters, scavengers of god flesh. He saw the host, the life which arose from the god flesh, join them there. He ain't a god, but he's closer than anyone now. And I had done the same. In my shock, I flew on bloody feet back home. Those that saw me were right afraid, demanded answers, and I provided. Were furious and gave into fighting. Would they tell the Lord? Abundance could never know. What can they do with this one? What can they do at all? Some drove me away, some followed me. I took whoever would come, and we ate. In all these years before I found it, the flesh had not diminished, and it never did afterwards. For however long we stayed beside it, and in those years, the love for abundance grew weak, and in time he succumbed to the fear that made him withhold his flesh before. He was just another of us. Everyone was, except those who were sore afraid, and slipped away like thieves. Now, time blurs together, memories blur together. As we build and take in travelers, in my age, I remember less of the way life was before this. But one memory is stuck permanent as the mound in the heath. I remember being hungry.
Perhaps this is one of the starts from the Devas or someone else like that. The Sarkics? Who knows? For now, though, we will move on to the next work, which is also about flesh. This one's a poem. It was brought to the library by Imperatrix. Now, without further ado, Visviseha. City of Mother Vaesh. Bricks were made of bone. Binder was flesh, our enemy's tombstone. Roads made of teeth, blood pouring from fountains, red walls of meat hidden in the mountains. That was the capital of the Vaesh clan, till the docile animal turned against the good man. Our fleshcraft conquered, our city was an arm, our children sequestered, we sounded the alarm. Then their gods came and slaughtered the survivors, our metropolis aflame, only alive in the mind of riders. No more of the lungs to upholster our chairs. Never more of the tongues that garnished our stairs. They destroyed the curtains made out of hair and skin, chopped the remains of the human head tree kin. As Visviseha perished, we started to run. How could they be so hellish? How could they have won? They were our slaves, Nulka, led by Ion. Now in the city are the graves of people of our own. No more city of flesh, no more city of bones. It's our time to rest. This is our tombstone. Unknown author, translated from David Glyphs by Ionis Papadakis, holomancer and member of the Hand. And that's a little bit too much of the flesh for me. It's leaving a bad taste in the back of my mouth. For now, let's move on to the next work, brought to the library by Dr. Solo. It's about the last summer. Serotina. To the courts and retinue of Lord Spring, Winter, the disbanded courts, and retinue of Lady Autumn, all peoples of the land and whomever else it may concern. As I am sure you have learned, there have been major changes to the leadership of the seasonal court. My forebear, the Sovereign Summer, has claimed through force that which is rightfully theirs. Lady Autumn has abandoned the realm, and as such, Summer retains control of the throne until such a time that she returns to her duty. A bold-faced lie. By now, my cousin Lakana would surely have informed her Lord Father Spring, would have sent word to virtually all other households in the realm. Summer had banished Autumn using dark and prohibitive powers. There are those who have already sought to unjustly dethrone my sire. My brother, Seko, Sword of the Sun, and the court philosopher, Monos, have both attempted coups, and both have been justly banished by Summer's driving justice. There will be no hesitation in meting out such punishments should any others be foolish enough to attempt rebellion. Another lie. I had seen my sire use the dark powers thrice, once on my brother for his disobedience, once on my aunt, Autumn, to remove her from succession, and once on the blue philosopher simply because he was a dear friend to Autumn, and because Summer was a spiteful being. Each time I saw Summer use this power, I saw something drain from them. Their once golden skin has become almost pale. Their birdsong voice has soured and become like the cries of crows and vultures, and even fouler birds still. While once they adorned themselves in garish robes of rich purples and bright yellows, now they had exchanged their wardrobe for one of gray and red. Even their ever-present oppressive aura of heat has weakened. I believe the forbidden powers have made them even frailer than they let on. Perhaps such things are forbidden with good reason. For his crimes against the realm and its people, Sovereign Summer demands the capture of Polaris, the Bright Midnight. A hefty ransom of gold will be offered for his capture alive, and one of silver for his body. Sovereign Summer cautions those who may hunt him that Polaris is a cruel and powerful being. Powerful, certainly, but cruel? Not at all. The only crime Polaris has committed is being the object of hate of his dread sibling, Polari, whom Summer had promised its brother's life in exchange for its aid in recovering the forbidden power from that distant plane. For her crimes against the throne, Sovereign Summer demands the capture of Lekana, Princess of the Gentle Breeze, dead or alive. A similar ransom of gold will be rewarded for a capture and will be doubled should it also result in the return of a wooden mask in her possession stolen from the seasonal court. I almost could not get through the passage. Lakana was there when Summer purged Autumn from the world, and it was she that fled with Autumn's mask in hand. Her only action against the throne was warning her father of my sire's crime. Any subject found aiding either of these heinous villains will be punished in kind. Those whom obey and behave, however, will find great prosperity in the years to come. The realm has now entered a glorious everlasting summer, and the sun will reward its supplicants. From Serotina, Shadow of the Sun, Grand Advisor to Sovereign Summer. I read it all over once more. I've finished, my sovereign. Excellent, Summer croaked. Send it off, and while you're at it, send word to Spring that I demand his presence. At once, I replied, as I hurried out of the room. Never in my life had I felt so strongly compelled to find shade. Except from Monos's Chronicle of the Last Summer. And with that ongoing uprising in the seasons from summer, I'm going to have to leave you all here, dear wanderers. Thank you very much for coming. It's an honor reading for you as always, and I hope to see you all next time. Good luck out there.